Greetings, my friends, and thank you for tuning in to the Hometown Moguls podcast. My name is Ryan Yoder, and here I will be sharing inspiring small business stories from your own community. Please take a second to like, subscribe, follow, share, give a thumbs up. Anything that you can do to help support the podcast would be greatly appreciated. Now, please sit back and enjoy the show. All right, so we'll go ahead and just jump right into it.
Baby.
Let's dive right in. Go ahead and introduce yourself and tell the world what you got going on.
So my name is David Coleman, and I am the founder of 7 Nights. We're it's funny because I was about to say my day job, right?
Well, go ahead and throw that in there too.
We'll get to that later. But I'm the founder of 7 Nights, which is a Christian-based clothing company. Started it 2 years ago with the mission to create disciples through fashion. I saw that there was a big gap between Christian apparel and really the streetwear market. I love sneakers, and a lot of the fashion and options that I saw were available weren't really geared to what I was into, things that I would wear. So I said, let me try to give people something I know I would want to wear, and I'm pretty sure other people will want to wear it.
Now, you kind of enlightened me when we first talked, and maybe I'm just that far off the mark with fashion. You know, my wife makes fun of me for wearing the same 5 shirts every day. So, but, you know, the vastness of these sneaker shows and this whole underground, I say underground, but this network that you're tapped into.
Yeah.
I mean, for people that aren't directly involved, I mean, you're going to a show soon, and it's like a thriving, like it's like its own industry of its own, like of you know, booths set up and, you know, the whole 9 yards. I mean, what's that like? How long have you been involved in that whole scene?
I've only been going to the sneaker shows as long as I started 7 Nights. So my wife will tell you that before we got married, she was like, I don't know when you got into these sneakers. And before I met my wife, I was, you know, living a certain lifestyle that wasn't so Christian. And I'm not afraid to say that's why I am where I am today. And I spent my money in other places besides fashion. But I've always loved sneakers. I love shoes. So once I got married and I settled down, my money had to go towards something, right? I had this money that I wasn't using towards concerts because we had a kid. And I really just found my niche of sneakers that I like. I'm not a big Jordan person. I love Jordans. I have Jordans in my collection, but I'm not one of those guys that buys every single pair of Jordans that come out. I'm more of what we would call a Euro style fashion guy when it comes to sneakers, you know, Diodoras, Mizunos, Asics, those kind of things. So me loving those certain colorways, I just saw a gap in the market, and I started looking up sneaker shows like SneakerCon, which is like the big one I went to. And I was actually blown away from the first SneakerCon I went to, which was in DC, which was in 2019. I didn't realize how big sneaker shows were until that moment. My booth was right next to a 14-year-old kid. And people who are in the sneaker world, who've been doing this for a long time, you know, they know 2J's, huge sneaker mogul, has multiple stores, Urban Necessities. Before this, I did not know who this man was, but he had a huge booth. And the last day of the show, this kid had some, Ian Connor has these, what do you call them? They're kind of like replica vans. They're called, you know, Ian Connor Revenge Time Storm, but they look like vans. He got sued or whatever. So this kid had maybe 30 pair of these Store Revenge sneakers. So 2J's comes up to him and says, hey man, I'll buy you out, which basically means I'll buy out all your inventory. Kid's 14 years old. He basically, 2J's hands his kid $14,000. One transaction right next to me. And I was mind blown. So at the end, we're talking to his parents. We're like, because he had his mom and dad there with him, and his mom and dad were essentially working for him, right? I mean, dad's, you know, keeping inventory, keeping everybody hydrated. He's the runner, going to get food, coming back. His mom is making sure the money is right. And I'm just asking, you know, like him being 14, like how do you help manage his money and things like that? And he gets like an allowance. They said something crazy like $1,000 a month. But I didn't know that kids were really that big into sneakers. Yeah. And the younger ones blow my mind even more. I did a sneaker show in Jersey. My man Just Nice has a sneaker convention in Atlantic City. I think the kid was 10 years old. People are walking up to him wanting to take pictures with a 10-year-old.
because of sneakers and his involvement.
Because of sneakers, because of the reseller that he is. Adults are wanting to take pictures with a 10-year-old. Like, I didn't know it was this big. So seeing how big it is, one, opened my eyes to let me know that this is something that the market is in need of, because nobody's there. I mean, obviously people are selling clothes there, right? But nobody's selling Christian apparel and standing like, hey, this is what we are. I'm not like any of these other streetwear brands here. I just don't have like a gimmicky thing. Like, we stand for something. Everything has a meaning. Everything has a purpose. In a situation like that, people actually love it.
Yeah, and so I mean, and you even mentioned, the actual mission being involved in using that as a way to tap into people's hearts and getting into their minds, and you speak a lot in ways that might come off, for people that aren't involved in faith and church, like in ways that they don't quite understand. Can you explain, say, like, when you post something and say the Spirit put it on your heart to like donate the remainder of the shirts? I mean, that's a pretty abstract idea for businesses that are used to just focusing on a bottom dollar.
Yeah.
What's that contrast like between going by your faith and your heart versus like what like a traditional business would be expected to do?
Yeah, that's an amazing question, because I actually still struggle with that. So the feeling of it comes because it's something I specifically actually pray for. Like, God, let the Spirit speak to me. I want to be led. I don't want to be incentivized by monetary things. I want this to be obviously a successful company, right? I do want to be in the green. I want to make money. I want to work for myself, but at the same time, I want to be more than just that. I want to be somebody who gives back. And you're actually referring to the sweatshirts. So it's crazy that I had this feeling, because the sweatshirts are way more expensive than a t-shirt. Two, I paid triple the amount to get the sweatshirts printed than I would have, because I didn't buy the amount of quantity I would need to get them printed in Montana. So I got them printed locally, which I paid more. So all in all, this was like an expensive print job for me. And I remember driving down Walnut, and I saw a guy, it had to be a few weeks ago, was a month ago or so. And I can't explain it when it's not an auditory thing. When people say it, I don't know how some people have it, but me, it's more of a you talking to yourself kind of feeling. I don't know how to really explain it even depth, but something was like, give away your sweatshirts. And I was like, nah, I'm good. I'm going to keep selling them. And a week later, something else said, donate all your sweatshirts, like, give them away. So when I say that the Spirit talked to me, is that was God talking to me. Give away your sweatshirts. It's really hard to explain. I'm not saying this to brag or boast or about donating. If anything, I want to encourage people to do it. But this past weekend, me and the family randomly went to the zoo on a cold Saturday. We didn't have anything to do, so we went to Philadelphia Zoo because we have a membership. On the way back, I saw a gentleman standing outside. He looked crazy, crazy cold. Pulled up to him. I literally gave him a sweatshirt off my back and gave it to him. Right? And my wife was like, wow, you just gave him a sweatshirt off your back. You don't even have anything on. That's the only sweatshirt of that color that you have. Doesn't matter to me. Something told me to give it to him. You know what I mean?
And the first thing that comes to my mind, I mean, obviously, like you said, there's a contrast business wise, but when you seek out helping people as opposed to seeking out a financial gain, you're putting that positivity, whether you tie it specifically to, say, Christianity or whatever. If you put that energy out, the whole idea of karma, it's going to come back. Yeah. And like the first thing that comes to my mind, you're talking about being in the car with your family. I think that's an absolute strong image, not even as a businessman, but as a father and a family man, for your kids to see that. And I mean, that's pretty powerful as well as, and that's at least what stood out in my mind. I mean, that's, that goes well and above and beyond, just being a business owner. That's, just being a decent human being.
Yeah.
Pretty profound.
I appreciate it. And I do want to be a leader for my family. I have 2 young boys, and I want them to see that it's more about giving and receiving. Because obviously, them being young, everything is mine, and I get it. But the more that they see us give, the more they'll get that it's not about receiving. Because I know that I'm only blessed by the amount that I really truly give. I there's there's no other reason to explain it. Um, and for example, I have women's shirts. I didn't even post about this, and I will because I plan to go there next week. My wife sent me there's a women's shelter called, I think, Mom's House or something like that in Wilmington. I have to look it up. But I have a ton of women's shirts. Women's shirts is something that I printed at the beginning of this. My wife was like, a lot of women aren't going to wear unisex shirts. I wrote with it. Okay, let's get a ton of women's shirts printed. Women actually, majority of the women who bought unisex shirts. It's fine. It's part of business. Well, I don't really care to put anything on sale. Like I'll do like a Black Friday sale or something like that, right? But to really say, this item has been out for so long and didn't sell, now I'm going to sell it for half price for the remainder that I have it up. It's just not my style. I think my clothing is worth what it is, which is why I do charge what I charge. And if I don't get the amount that I think I'm going to get, because I see it's not selling, I'd rather just donate it. I guess it's another thing to the money thing. It's probably not a smart business move. People would say just put it on sale, sell it for half price, but I'd rather give it to somebody who's in need, right? So all those women's shirts, probably over 200 women's shirts that I have, I'm going to donate those to a women's shelter and just let them be able to enjoy it.
Yeah, I mean, it makes absolute sense to me. Now, the idea of, having your inventory and ordering X amount, I mean, is that something that you've kind of evolved as time's gone on? You've learned kind of like through bumps in the road of like, yeah, I'm not going to order that many before. Like what's your process been like from day one of just let's order a bunch of shirts versus now? Are you more strategic with it? Have you developed a plan behind all that?
Yeah, my plan now is way more involved because I've definitely I made some bumps in the road as far as one, I would say the biggest bump in the road I made last time I printed was not getting test shirts printed. Meaning, I have my Pantone colors right, the design is right, I have the right t-shirt, but when it actually goes to the printer, something is so small that like, for example, my Dreamer shirt, it's a green shirt and has a coat of Joseph on it. Well, the background of the coat was supposed to be all white, which it is now. But when they got printed the first time, there were some, in the stained glass portion of it, some of the white blocks were missing. So it was actually, you saw the green shirt behind it. Well, it was my fault because I missed it in the proof. But had I gotten the test shirt printed first and paid more for the test shirt, I would have seen that the file was actually incorrect and I wouldn't have gotten like 80 shirts printed, and it was my fault. So I had to buy a new 80 shirts to get those printed because my personality says if it's wrong, I'm not going to sell it just because I'm going to sell it. Like if I wouldn't wear it and I don't like it, then it's not getting sold. So those shirts got donated. My Every Rainbow Has a Storm was the same around that same time where the colors of the rainbow were a little too pastel. They were a little too soft. And it wasn't bright enough. So again, I had to buy another 80 shirts, get those printed, end up having to donate the incorrect ones. And my wife, being who she is, she was like, no more of this. We're going to get test shirts printed every single time, no matter how much a test shirt costs, because it's going to be a lot less for one test shirt than it is to replace, X amount of quantities. And when you get it back, you can change things. So that's definitely one thing moving forward that I know, no matter the cost, get a test shirt printed just to make sure I know what I'm getting. And inventory wise, nothing really there. I mean, the quantity is the quantity because the company who I use, they do have a minimum and I just have to meet their minimum in order to get things printed. I will say on the printing side of things, people always ask, why don't I use a Printify or one of those kind of companies and just have somebody else print it and then they ship it direct to the customer? I think it's personal preference. Me and my love for streetwear, I don't think you have great quality control if somebody else is printing a shirt and then you actually never see it and then just goes to the end user. Or even if you got one shirt, well, what do you do if it's wrong? It was just one shirt. I want my inventory here with me because as soon as you order a shirt, I can ship it out tomorrow. I believe from the beginning, and this is something that me and my wife always discuss, because she said the same thing. Well, why are you ordering so many shirts? I think in order to operate like a big business, you have to have a mind state like a big business. And I'm not saying I'm these big companies, but any streetwear brand you can think of, they don't use a Printify. I'm not going to use a Printify either. I think you have to, perception is reality. And I will always say that. That's why people are amazed that I have hem tags on my shirts. Well, that's what the brands that I like, that's what they do. That's how you prove that you care about your brand. You have a hang tag. I love clothes. There's nothing like popping the tag off of a brand new shirt. I don't care what anybody says. If you love clothes, there's nothing pulling the fresh tag off. I needed that hang tag off of my shirt to make me feel as if I was giving somebody something that I would personally want to buy. So that's one thing that I did learn, is that I know I'm on the right track with some of the things that I'm doing. But as far as like printing in quantity, test shirts.
Hindsight's 2020, but
yeah, man.
You got it down now. But
I did.
It sounds like, I mean, you've rattled off several different designs and everything. You know, what's your process like when it comes to the actual, you know, choosing a biblical story and then the designing of, you know, the graphic, and, you know, what's that kind of process look like for you?
For me, it's more of I have a lot of ideas. So what I do is I put it in Evernote. So in Evernote now I have over 100 different ideas. Some of them will never get printed because it's just such a vague idea, but the idea in my head could possibly work. So I'll take, for example, one of the ones that I know I'm going to print soon is blind faith, right? I just, you know, I hear it a lot. People say it, and in my mind is sometimes like, what does blind faith look like? And I always thought it'd be cool to have somebody that was blindfolded with faith written across their eyes, right? I mean, blind faith. So in my head, it was dope. And if my head is dope and I like it, then I go to my graphic designer. I tell them to sketch it up. And if I like it, then I get it printed. If I don't like it, I won't get it printed. But because I'm not a graphic designer, and because in my heart of hearts, like I'm not a great, you know, artist as far as drawing, I can maybe sketch something up. I'm not nearly as good as you. You know, I've seen what you've done on the sidewalk. I've seen that plan that you did, brother. Like, I'm not nearly as a great artist as you. So I'd rather pay to see my vision than see a horrible sketch in a book. So there's some things that he's actually done for me that'll probably even never get printed, because I'm like, oh, it was a great idea. It looks okay, but I don't know if I'd really wear it. But as far as the process, I think it's kind of what it goes. Something's on my heart, I pray on it, and I get it drawn up.
Yeah. Now, looking down the pipeline, I mean, you mentioned, you know, to, you know, think and act like a big business and this and that. Do you have kind of like an actual business plan you wrote out for this? Do you at least have kind of like a 2, 3, 5-year goal in mind, like the direction of this whole, you know, thing of where it's moving and where you want to go next?
Yeah. No. That's just me being honest. I don't, because it's something that's ever evolving. I do have, obviously I have my values. I have my mission statement. I know what I want the company to look like in 3 years. What I more or less write down is, how do I achieve the goal of being seen more? Because as far as being a clothing company and social media and influencers, I don't care what anybody says. If you're not getting seen on the internet, I don't know if there's an easy way to really grow sales. Well, unless you're on the street selling your shirts out of your trunk every day, which if I didn't have any kids and I was married, best believe I'd be literally selling shirts out of my car. I would just park up and sell shirts out of my car, but I don't have that luxury. So I have to use the internet in order to try to sell shirts. So my mission right now is to really find influencers. If I find the right influencers who actually fit the brand, who have a good following, who I believe they can bring value to the company, I believe I can bring value to them by providing them with, you know, clothing that they've never seen before. That's the way I grow. I don't, outside of that, I don't really have like a 3 to 5 year plan like other businesses do. I really don't.
Well, it seems like you're certainly testing all the different avenues of what I see there's generally trends that different brands or companies, people promoting on Instagram specifically, go through, where I've seen you do recently like a photo contest, or
Yeah.
you've tested the water with, I remember you had sent shirts to a dance crew and they were putting up a video, and what about that type of stuff? Are there like sources that you're going to kind of research ideas and like, oh, let's strategically test this and see what kind of return it gets, or is it just like, you get this idea and you kind of throw it up there, like, all these marketing like things? Is this something that you're continuing to teach yourself every day about and kind of test the waters with?
Yeah, this is marketing, and is something that I definitely teach myself about. Now, that is something that I read on often. How do you grow your following? How do you grow your brand? That's something I read on a lot, because I really do want to know how to grow the brand. And giveaways, people always say giveaways is a huge thing. My personal experience with this, it hasn't done a ton of things. That doesn't mean that all giveaways don't work. I just haven't found the right giveaway or the strategic marketing that works for 7 nights. And that's really what I'm trying to find, is the right one that works for my brand, because not everyone works for everybody, right? Like, so partnering with the Exiles, I love the Exiles. They're amazing. I think there's certain ways that I personally could have went about it, to even make it blow up even more. Do you know what I mean? And then it didn't help that COVID was like legit in the middle of it, right? Like, they were even having a hard time getting a crew together to dance in the shirts. Like, that was even harder for them to do. So it is me learning, reading, how do people do it? I do have certain influencers that do reach out to me, and, obviously they're paid advertisements, and it's like, oh man, that person has a good amount of followers, but they really don't fit my brand. So at the same time, I could go a certain route and probably get likes and get followers from going with people who have hit me up. But what look do I want for myself and my company at the end of the day? I don't want to just pay anybody just because I know I'll get 30 extra followers.
Sure. Yeah. And I even kind of tested those waters a little bit, on the smallest scale possible of like this podcast.
Yeah.
Watch some YouTube videos about like, how to get 10,000 followers on Instagram. Like, it's like you follow like the top 100, like the Kim Kardashians, the world, or whoever has the most followers. And then like there's bots, I guess, as soon as they see you follow them, they follow you. And it's like,
right.
It's funny, like the tips that they had, like the top 5 things, is like, to a T, as I started posting episodes and things and started getting like even just the minute version of like some exposure, people were in my DMs doing exactly like the top 5, copy and paste what this video said, like trying to build up their brand. And it's like everyone's out there, like you said, trying to do it, but it's like it just kind of like gets washed out with everything else because they're not sticking to like something specific. Whereas I feel like, you've picked a very niche part of, like the whole fashion world, but once that breaks open into that, you actually get out there and more exposure, that's just more of it just directed right at you. So, I mean, I feel like it's one of those things, it seems like it's a slower start, but once you kind of feel it out, figure out what clicks, I imagine like every time you do it, do you see like an increase in like the response back and everything positively, as far as like the views and likes and comments and stuff like that?
I definitely see people engaging more, and I try to do that, is engage more with people. I have seen that work. I've even bought things of like how to make your Instagram cleaner. I bought, it was called like Dean Street something. It was a video segment. I can't remember her name. But if anybody looks at my page, you wonder why I have like a white background behind all of my photos. It was because she was like, when people go on your feed and you sell clothing, you might want to think about having white, because if you look at a couture magazine or anything like that, they just don't have a whole bunch of pages. There's a lot of borders. There's a lot of white, because picture sitting on top of picture, sometimes it looks a little cluttered. I did that for a reason. Because I'm like, you know what? I've seen pages where they do have white and it makes your page look amazing. So when I do have photos, I do try to put the white background on it. Obviously the way you put your hashtags on it, using even down to using like emojis in your description in your profile, right? Like I've tried to like, okay, maybe this will make my like if somebody goes to my page, if they see emojis on there, maybe they'll make them want to follow me because it makes me look cool, right? Like I've literally done all those little things to try to get people to like the page. And I know this is kind of off topic, but it takes me to the point now where I'm at the point now where I don't really care. It's 100% honest. Nobody knows this. I don't really advertise it. But right now I'm in the fasting stage. All right, I'm doing a Daniel fast. Most people do it for 21 days. I'm doing it for 40 days because obviously God fasted for 40 days, and I wanted clarity on the direction of this company. And the more I've, meditated about it, read the word, the more I realized, like, I think I'm trying to do things that I'm trying to emulate people too much. Right. And I think that's cool to a certain extent, right? Because there's something that if somebody has success, if you emulate their success, if you emulate what they do, you will have some success. Right. Yeah. But I think trying to copy what somebody does too much, you get away from what makes you you. So once I haven't posted in a while, and it's because I'm really trying to understand what I'm supposed to do with this brand and my life, my family, and things like that. So I'm trying to take a little step away from Instagram and social media. But once I go back, I know that I won't feel nearly as much pressure, because if somebody unfollows me or I don't have as many followers as I think I should have, I don't care. Like, I need to stay true to myself, because when the time comes for me to pop, it'll happen.
Sure.
Simple as that. Simple as that. There was a time where I was trying to have stuff on my feed. Like, people say, like, you need at least like 10 things on your feed a day to keep people interested. That's so hard. Well, for not for everybody. For me, it's so hard. Like, having that many things on your feed, just constantly, like, in between work, in between your family. Like, when am I on Instagram? Like, oh, I'll put that on my feed. I'll put that on my feed. If it's not important to me, I'm not putting it there now. If I haven't posted in a week, I'm not going to feel pressure to post because I haven't posted in a week, and I might lose one follower because I haven't posted in a week. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's a real thing that people put themselves under. I'm tired. I'm done. I'm almost halfway done through this 40 days. And that's one revelation already came to myself. I don't care anymore. This is, at the end of the day, I have to realize, like, who this is for. Right?
No, absolutely.
It's for God, and it's for people, but the people who it's for, they won't leave. Which is the reason it's crazy, because ever since I started this and I haven't posted, I haven't lost one follower, and I haven't been stressed over it, right? Like, that's the crazy thing. I've actually gained followers of me being in this phase, in this phase of, like, not caring so much posting. I think since I posted, we're buying a house and stuff like that, which is the reason I stopped posting. And then I was like, man, I'm about to fast too. I've gained a few followers. And I was like, oh, this is kind of crazy. You take the priority away of doing it for the right reason, of posting meaningful content, and you actually could gain followers just from being you.
Yeah. And I mean, so even something like this, it makes me think, like, I had the pleasure of knowing you prior to this, and we've had plenty of conversations of the background of Seven Nights and the heart and the moral base that's underneath of it. And hopefully this kind of shines a little bit of light, but you've attempted to do some video stuff. And have you ever thought of doing like a vlog or like a YouTube channel where obviously that's just another thing you have to figure out how to edit and throw up. But I mean, I imagine like that kind of candid look behind the scenes of, those struggles of what goes into these decisions. I mean, people might not catch it as they're scrolling through Instagram, but if you have more of a long, form, a way to put it out there to the world where people can view it on their own time on YouTube. I mean, I feel like that might be pretty powerful, because you have so much to give on the back end. Yeah. Even behind like that, the logo and the designs and everything. Have you ever thought of a YouTube channel? Or
I haven't thought of a YouTube channel, but I'm actually glad that you said that, because I have been thinking that I need to just make videos and tell people what's going on more behind the scenes, and not care that if it's longer than, so if your video is longer than a minute, you can't put a white background on it on Instagram, right? But it's little things. But this is me being honest and transparent. If I couldn't have a white background, I didn't really like it because it didn't conform with the rest of my page. So now I don't care. Right? Like, if it's a photo, I'll still put the white background. But if I do a video and it's 3 minutes and there's no white background, we're not tripping. But I thought about that. I was like, I wonder how many people who follow me, like, want to even know, like, where do you get your shirts printed? What shirts do you use? What's the process you go through? Like, some of the questions that you've asked me, just to maybe spark ideas, or maybe somebody else is able to start their t-shirt business or something like that. But I haven't started thinking about starting a YouTube channel. I never thought about that. I'm like everybody else. I don't think I'm interesting enough.
I mean, and that's what I was kind of surprised when you even said like this. You basically the first interview and first chance to like talk about it. Like I think I've always been intrigued by the idea of no matter what scale it is, just like someone starting something of their own and bringing this idea to life, and
Yeah.
all the different, like it's pretty amazing. Like that's I think one of the biggest benefits of what we do on a day-to-day basis of meeting local business owners. And like you just meet some guy who seems like the most average Joe, and you realize that like he flips houses, he owns a couple of rental properties, but he has like a plumber full time, and then he employs like holy crap, like how many different things, like, and he just seems like so nonchalant about it. It's like, well, if they can all do it, like why can't I do it? So I think, and especially it's very nice to be reminded of like you have to acquire assets, and it's always nice to have like the fancier things in life. But I think there could definitely, at least because I'm in the same boat as you, that I could see a void and definitely see a market for people wanting that the meat on the bones behind everything. Like it's a business up front, but like what's going on behind the scenes. I think you have a great story to tell that most people people watch vlogs of people doing the most random stuff, but like if there's like a business side to it, there's a family side to it. You got a couple different avenues you could definitely
listen, man. I think that's something that I should definitely think about more, because the more you said, it's like, hey, why not? Who knows? And for me, what if I inspire somebody? It's not even about whatever fame or again monetary things you could get from it. Like, if I inspire somebody or spark something in somebody else, I think that's a W for me.
Yeah. Well, and you're also a very humble guy. At the end of the day, if you could somehow monetize a YouTube channel, that's just more money that's going out to positive things in the world and just going to amplify your own family. So
100%.
You can't. At the end, there, like I said, there's a strong moral base, but you're a business. I mean, at some point,
we talk about this all the time, right? Even personally, like off of this channel, we talk about this. Like it's the humbleness of it, of saying like I don't. We want to talk about all the time. Like we're so blessed. Like I don't like focusing on that portion. Of course, I would love to monetize it, but if it doesn't happen, but I'm going to treat it like I want it to be monetized, right?
Yeah. Well, I'm just rooting for you. And so it's just that idea came up, and so I think just want to see this whole thing just keep going in the direction that it is.
Yeah.
The only other thing that I had a note that I was just curious about with your particular product, have you looked into like copywriting, trademarking? Like that seems like kind of a headache of having to protect, when you have printable items that people could try to steal, like a logo or a graphic. I mean, is that something that you've looked into? Is that something you already do?
Yeah, I definitely looked into trademarking, obviously the name and the logo. It's expensive. Not too expensive, but expensive enough where I just haven't done it yet. I'd just rather put the money into inventory and new ideas. But I did research enough where if you actually start selling a product under your name, you do have some rights to it. So if I actually start selling merchandise under 7 nights, then I have some rights to the name. Obviously, somebody could still copyright it before I do. But since I've already sold merchandise, it makes it easier for me to get that trademark name. Copywriting the t-shirts, what I've researched is if you print the shirt and obviously sell it, then it's intellectual property of some sort, right? So I technically should own it, but I'm not worried about it right now. I'm such a small fry compared to people. Like I used to worry about like, oh, somebody's gonna steal it if I post it. Like, man, steal it if you want, bro. I actually think that would be pretty flattering if I saw my design in somebody else's like clothing store. Like, wait, like I seen that somewhere before because it's mine, right? Like, I would actually be super flattered for that, because that means it's so dope that you wanted to copy me. So when the time comes, it'll happen. But that's something right now that's not even close to being on my radar. Right now, my radar is, because there haven't been any shows all of 2020, and the one that's coming up in Tampa is the first one in 2021. Man, I've been really just pumping out designs. Like I have 3 right now that we're finishing up. Right after these 3, we're going to get to another 3. I already have about 12 to 15 that people haven't even seen, that's just in the pipeline that haven't even been printed yet. So it was a blessing and a curse though, because I actually I'm glad that I didn't have to print any shirts, because before I always felt like I was trying to rush designs and print shirts for shows, right? Like, oh, well, I gotta, wintertime's coming up, so I gotta print more shirts for wintertime for the winter shows so I can have new designs. Well, there weren't any shows. So now this upcoming summertime, I can choose, like, okay, we got, let's choose from these 6. Okay, let's narrow down from these 6 and say, what 2 are we going to print from the summertime, instead of trying to rush. And at the same time, I'm still creating for the wintertime, and I already have designs ready for the wintertime. So you have to find your blessing in everything. And in that part in 2020, I definitely found my blessing in, like, I can really focus on like actually creating designs that I've always wanted to, but felt I didn't have like the time to really put thought into them.
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, it's you mentioned my doodling on the chalk on the sidewalk, but I mean that's slight just doodling skills ever since I was little. But like I don't know, the idea of fashion's always gone completely over my head. Like my wife, like I said, my wife makes fun of me because I can't match clothes for the life of me. And so the idea of you taking like, oh, I like this sneaker, and then this, this can go with this, and like I don't know, it's a whole nother realm, a whole nother mindset of it's its own creativity and artistry in its own. So I respect it. I
appreciate it, man. I think style is a sport. I think it's something that I really do. Listen, people who love style, they will tell you it's fun, but you have to be into it, man. Like it's a very fun thing, but I think people put too much pressure on themselves as far as style, because I think style is what's comfortable to you and what you like. Some people look at me when they see me like, oh man, that's too much. I'm like, that's not too much, because this was easy for me, right?
Yeah.
Like, but you have to do what's comfortable for you. People don't know there was a time, that's why my wife makes fun of me. Like, she's like, where did you get all these shoes from? Like, where did this come from? I was like, it's been in me the whole time. But before her, I was wearing Birkenstocks and bootcut jeans and imaginary foundation shirts almost every day. Like, I was wearing Birkenstocks. People just knew Dave wears Birkenstocks and bootcut jeans every day, bro, and a black t-shirt.
That's funny.
You know what I mean? So
I've never ventured much out of, like I said, the t-shirt realm. I had several years there where like I had a pretty sweet collection of band t-shirts, like Metallica, Slipknot.
Yeah.
It's just like every day was a different band t-shirt. And then I realized, like, at some point when you're in like your late 20s, like people don't want to see you walk around in like a Slipknot shirt. Like I have kids, I should probably wear like a polo or something somewhat nice. But like
see, and I don't believe that. I think you should wear what you like. Because I think your Slipknot t-shirt doesn't have anything that's provocative on it. Because I know I've seen plenty of Slipknot t-shirts in my life and growing up and going to school, right? Like, I mean, they're hardcore, but it's nothing crazy on it that like it's profanity. Like, I think you should own it. I think you should do what makes you happy. I think that's the fun thing about style, right? It's like doing what makes you happy. Like, I'm in this zone right now to talk about style where I'm like, I want to start buying t-shirts that remind me of my childhood. And I don't care what anybody says. I'm a 33-year-old man about to be 34, and you're about to see me in Looney Tunes shirts. And this is real. And I'm about to wear cartoon shirts because it reminds me of my childhood. And I want to reminisce and feel like cool in my own head, right? Like, I just saw this old vintage Batman shirt, but it's the Batman shirt when Michael Keaton was in it. I don't care what anybody says. I think that shirt is amazing. You can say whatever you want when I'm in it, but it makes me happy. So if Slipknot shirts make you happy, I think you should wear it, brother.
I don't know. You got me thinking about a Rugrats Big Reptar shirt or something. It's like a throwback Avril Monsters.
I have a one of these guys that I met at a show. He was it's called upcycling, where you basically take old clothing, you like sew something new on, or you basically make it new, upcycling. So he found a vintage denim jacket, and I found a Nickelodeon regular t-shirt. So he's going to take the front print of the t-shirt and actually sew it on the back of the jacket. So I'm going to have a Nickelodeon jacket with all the characters, Ren and Stimpy, Rocko's Modern Life. My wife is making fun of me because I'm on eBay trying to find the pins, all the Nickelodeon pins that go in the collar and the pockets. So yes, I will have a Nickelodeon denim jacket. Again, it reminds me of my childhood and it makes me happy. So people are probably like, that's corny. And I'm going to say, I don't care.
That's awesome. That and what was the other one? All that. There's a
All
couple good
that,
throwbacks.
yeah.
Yeah,
Bro.
man.
I'm gonna have a
Cool.
Nickelodeon jacket.
We're gonna go deep down this rabbit hole if we let ourselves. But well, is there anything else that I can put out there in the world for you? Obviously, I'll kind of tag you and put links to the website and all your different stuff. I mean, what else can we throw out there to help promote anything in particular?
I mean, I would just reiterate that us being a faith-based company, every single design that we do has a meaning behind it. And I put those descriptions in the shirts on our website. So I encourage people, when you do visit the website, click on the designs and read the scripture that is applicable to that design. And some of the designs, I even have my own personal story. We're probably like the one that's like Humbled, which was my very first design. I have, my own little bit of my backstory of why that design came to be. And even read the About Us page. Some people don't do that enough, to read About Us page, because this is for me, this is a lot bigger than just clothing, right? Like when I say I really want to create disciples, I want to create disciples. And I know it's not going to be me personally that creates these disciples, because our motto is be the seed. And that came from where I don't want to, us being the seed means if you're wearing the t-shirt and somebody asks you about what you're wearing, now we can tell them, your personal story with Christ, your personal walk, and you can even talk about the scripture. But that's you being the seed, because you necessarily didn't maybe bring that person to Christ, but because you told that person your personal story, they may have struggled with the same thing. The next person that comes along waters that seed that you planted in them, and now we have a believer. That's really my goal, is to spark conversation. And the people when it happens to is so crazy, because I see it happen. I get text messages from people who like, yo, somebody asked about my shirt today, and I got to tell them the meaning of it. Like, that's amazing that people are literally stopping and asking people like, yo, what does that shirt mean? Like, I love it. That's what it's meant for. So,
boom.
Yeah.
That's what it's all about, brother. Well, yeah. I love it. Like I said, I'm hoping all the best for you. It's exciting to watch, from the outside looking in. So we'll have to check back in the future. And if there's anything I can do from this platform, absolutely let me know. And
no doubt,
it's going to get shared, man.
No doubt. I appreciate you, brother.